You're trying to control it for you.
Yes. And
you can do
whatever you want.
Yeah.
I've had that covered. Do whatever you want. What happens here?
Yes.
Or what happens within what I'm comfortable with, I will control. Life as a mom, entrepreneur, wife, friend, and human is a lot. Join me, Katie Jacobs.
And me, Brandy Chandler, every Thursday as we have unfiltered, hilarious, and relatable conversations about the ups, the downs, and the chaos of it all.
Pour a glass and pull up a seat.
Because you're always welcome at our table. Hi, Katie.
I came to the wrong episode. We had to start over. I literally have 2 pages of notes and I just started.
Your notes are on the right episode. Your talking was just on the wrong episode.
Well,
and that's why we have
boundaries.
I was not afraid to tell Katie she was out of the boundary.
You were not going to let me go on and on.
I said it nicely.
You did. Thank you.
You know what? And this is an important part of the things we have to come. I respected you, but I still enforced the boundary.
Mm-hmm. Thanks for that. All right. Let's pop this off. What is I know yours. I mean, I think every listener.
Guess mine.
What is our personal boundary strength on a scale of 1 to 10? Yours is on a 12.
I was going to say 8.
Really?
Yeah, sometimes, believe it or not, sometimes I put up with stuff I'm not really happy with.
Name them. I can't imagine one thing you do that does not make you.
I do, and it drives me crazy.
Like things you have to do.
Mostly, I mean, the stuff it's not worth me trying to take, like other people's responsibility levels, or it drives me nuts when people say they're going to do something. Like they're very distinct about it and they say they're going to do something and they never do it, even though it has nothing to do with me.
Are you passive aggressively talking about me?
No.
Okay.
Somebody else maybe, but not. I have this friend named Katie.
There's this girl.
No, I am not.
She's my business partner.
Yeah. Okay. I think so. You thought I was a 12. I think I'm an 8. I think you're like an 8.
I think I'm like a 7.
Okay. I was going to go 6 to 8 range.
Yeah.
Good deal.
I think that's where I'm at.
Look at us. We're soulmates. We can read each other.
How did you come into your understanding of boundaries?
Oh, so I was thinking about this the other day. Oddly enough, I came to really know that I needed boundaries with family and with church. And the reason I think that is odd is those are two safe, and I'm doing air quotes here if you're not watching, safe places where you think you might not need boundaries. But
Mm-hmm.
I did.
Mm-hmm.
I needed them there. What about you?
Well, can you get a little deeper in that?
Yeah, well, just family. I mean,
no, with church. I'm more
yeah.
curious.
Okay, so
I know family. We'll
I
get there.
I'm like, does everybody not?
We're gonna talk about with church. I'm curious.
At midlife, realize they need family
I'm
boundaries.
curious about the church boundary.
So my husband and I have always been active in our churches, but when we had kids, I found that very hard to be like a leader or have a responsibility at church. And that's like work. It's every week. It doesn't stop. There are no breaks, even on holidays. And so working that with young kids, especially who have tight schedules for napping and eating and just not needing to be shuffled around. And we lived 30 minutes away from church at this point. And I just realized we have to tell people no, even if it's good work, again with the air quotes, even if it's good work, worthy cause, something we probably want to be doing even, but it's not the right time. And so we have to learn how to say no to protect ourselves, because I was starting to resent my church.
Oh, yeah.
Like, why are you asking me? There are all these other people. Like, can somebody else?
I think resentment is one of the indicators of needing stronger boundaries.
Yes, I have something written down around that.
Let's pop over to this quote. I love it.
Oh my goodness.
You got to read it.
This one?
Yes, that one.
So I have seen this before, but it popped up last night on my Substack. And I was like whipping out my laptop and put it in
Yeah,
the
this
notes.
is new. I have not seen
You've
this
not
note.
seen this?
Well,
Okay.
you put it in last night.
Well, I've just seen it around before. Probably because I read a lot about boundaries.
Someone is well versed.
I love this so much. This is a letter, a little note that E.B. White,
Who is E.B. White?
the author of Charlotte's Web
Oh.
and other books,
Great.
but mostly known for Charlotte's Web, wrote, and I'm going to just read it to you. He had some boundaries. Dear Mr. Adams, thank you for your letter inviting me to join the Committee of the Arts and Sciences for Eisenhower. I must decline for secret reasons. Sincerely, E.B. White.
Boom goes the dynamite. It's so
I
good.
want to use this.
It's like
so-
that is such a mic drop moment
for secret
reasons.
Secret. I mean,
reasons.
I am just waiting. I hope someone today asks me to do something.
And
So
you will
I can
decline
say,
for secret reasons.
I have to decline for secret reasons. Is the secret that you don't want to do it?
It's just like, I don't need to tell you why.
I love
it. It's great.
that.
It's really, really great.
May we all be like E.B. White and have our secret reasons. You didn't tell me how you came to realize the importance of boundaries.
Yeah, I think having kids was big for me. It was realizing that the ability to create the life we want is really dependent upon saying yes to certain things, saying no to certain things, and knowing when you need to. Mine is a lot about protection. Protect the innocence and just keeping my home as a place of respite and peace. And a lot of that came along because there was some generational stuff that I was seeing that I didn't want to happen.
Mm-hmm.
And I had to create some boundaries around, and JJ and I worked to do this together to create some boundaries around what was acceptable in our home, what was not acceptable, how we would approach social situations, and we still talk about these things, how we approach even things like sleepovers and like, what are our boundaries here and how do we feel about these things? And so these boundary conversations, once they start, they really gain some traction and momentum, and you start feeling a lot of confidence. And I'll tell you, I had to make some very strong, hard, difficult boundaries at a time in my life where things already felt hard and difficult. And it was the most challenging thing I've ever done as an adult. Was to set boundaries with family that were breaking some generational cycles.
Yes.
And
right there with you.
Once I did it and made it to the other side, it was so much easier to then, but we had to really like get in the ditch and pull out our shovels and do the work, because I think that's why a lot of people don't put up boundaries or let those boundaries slide. And I have let mine slide too at points, and then realized why they were so important in the first place.
Yes. And it was interesting. You were talking about how you and JJ had to make these boundaries together. I have found it very difficult. Like, I've been full on putting boundary up mode, and my husband is a little slower to jump on the boundary boat. How do you work that?
We're just super aligned. It's never been.
It's in the stars.
The boundary, we have always, I think it's one thing we unequivocally agree on.
Oh, good.
It
all
is like
boundaries or just kid boundaries?
I would say all I mean, I can't think of a boundary that he or I don't agree with or on.
Well, that's lovely.
And I think that's one of the reasons it's really important. Just to back it up. So So creating those boundaries for younger, for anybody who's really struggling, if you're going through hell, just keep going. Like it might even get worse before it gets better. But I promise you the hard work you're laying for creating boundaries, whether it's with friends, family, your lifestyle, your work, whatever it is. I heard a friend yesterday create a boundary for work. She was in a call and happened to be at the store, had to take a work call, and said, I'm not going to do that, period. And the way she said it, I was like, damn, that's cool. You know, she said it in like CEO lingo.
Yeah.
And it was like, essentially what she said was like, this is not happening. I will not take on more. I have taken on more in the past and it has been unfair. And I was like, what a bad bitch.
Yeah.
I mean, it was so fun to listen to, and it is so simple. And you know what? The whole call was like happening. She didn't have headphones in, so I was listening. I was working. She was working. I love when my friends come and work in my office.
What's going on here?
And I was like, And the person on the other end was like, I completely understand.
Well, and I think a super important thing that I learned with work boundaries is once you don't lay them, they really can snowball and then you're going to be in a bad spot. So, and an important thing I was reading last night, which I think people have heard me say this on the podcast before, default to no, because it's much easier to back into a yes than it is to change your answer to no from yes.
Right.
Like default that no. And then if you change your mind, you're like, maybe I can do that.
Yes.
That they're still going to let you do it. I guarantee.
Right.
So yeah, I think defaulting into a no, especially as you're trying to decide your boundaries and where you want to lay everything, it's very important.
Helping our kids develop boundaries is important. Johnny Lee and I had a really interesting conversation last night. He of course likes to talk to me when he's like, Mom, can I talk to you? I'm like, yeah, of course. So I lay in his bed and he's like, Mom, why do you sometimes not tell me things? And I said, what do you mean, bud? And he said, you didn't want to talk about or tell me about the school shooting. And I was like, for those of you who don't know, that school shooting happened 20 miles from our homes.
Very close.
Probably actually way closer to you, probably 10 miles from you.
People on Josiah's baseball team had siblings there.
Right. And so it hit particularly close to home in our community. And I said, I asked you if you had heard what had happened and you said no. So I, as your mom, oftentimes want to protect you from things that are going to make you worry because that's my job. And I don't want you to be scared or worried if you don't need to be, because the adults are handling this. There are police and the sheriff's office, and there are everyone in your school administration, your teachers that are worrying about this and handling this situation. And because you're only 10, I didn't want you to worry about it unless you knew about it and had questions. So I was under the impression you didn't know about it. And he was like, no, I knew about it. And I said, oh, okay. I said, well, I'm happy to answer any questions you have. I'm happy to talk about it. And we did, but, I thought that was really interesting, but I wanted him to understand the boundary wasn't around me doing anything but wanting him to not worry or be fearful. So that's, it's hard with these big conversations because you don't want your kids to hear them at school or talk about them at school and not talk to you about them.
Yes.
But also I want to preserve the innocence of my children for as long as I can. And that's a tough boundary to find. Where do you stand with it?
Yeah, I'm the same way. I think timing is kind of super important with boundaries with children. Like you're not keeping it from them forever, but a lot of times it's just not the right time yet. Like the sex talk, you're not going to have that when they're 5, most likely, unless the timing, something has come in and it needs to happen.
We were talking about that with Mod Femme. Sorry.
Were we?
Trad review.
I can't remember anything.
We we're talking about the birth control conversation that she was sort of dragged for not talking about birth control in front of her children. I really, I had a strong, because I have a strong sense of preserving. And, you know, this might be at this point with my 10-year-old, like I need to have the conversation, but, and we sort of broached it last night, and I said, you know, I said things like talking about like the birds and the bees, or like, you know, kissing, or, you know, things like that. He goes, Mom, I'm not in, he had his like retainer. He goes, Mom, I'm not in high school.
Little buddy.
So sweet. Mom, I'm not in high school.
Yeah.
How cute is that? But I was just like, I just want to preserve that little retainer and that little boy.
Because once it's gone,
it's gone. As long as I can, I want to keep that little boy little. I want to preserve my children's innocence, and not to the detriment of them hearing it somewhere else. And that is a hard boundary.
Yes.
And with your oldest daughter, I'm sure you're feeling that out. I know you're feeling that out because it's something we talk about.
Yeah. And I think even transitioning from boundaries with our children into the rest of the conversation, I think a big point of boundaries is that you're not trying to be difficult, and you're not trying to control somebody else. So boundaries are for you. Mm-hmm. They are to help you control the chaos in your life, mm-hmm. and to feel your own peace. So it's not about controlling the other person.
No.
And I think that's a lot of boundaries get confused in that realm. A lot of people are saying that's my boundary, I'm not going to do that. But really, they just want the other person to do something different.
Yes.
So that's a hard one. And just not to be difficult. I feel like some people are just trying to be difficult.
I think, so I have two thoughts. I think people that try to say when you set a boundary, you're trying to control. Well, 100%. I'm trying to control the situation because I'm not comfortable in it.
For you. You're trying to control it for you.
Yes. And
you can do whatever you want.
Yeah. I've had that covered. Do whatever you want. What happens here?
Yes.
Or what happens within what I'm comfortable with, I will control.
And that's
now
also
people who don't like the boundary, people who are uncomfortable with the boundary, are going to try and gaslight you into thinking it's you're selfish, you're controlling, you're this, you're that.
Yeah.
You know what? You can call me any name in the book. I don't really care. You know, it'll slide right off. Sealskin over here.
But that's a good way to understand the health of your boundaries. It's a healthy boundary if it is purely about your own controlling of your chaos.
That's right. Well,
and not someone else.
I love this quote, and I found it years ago, and I looked it up for this. The only people who get upset about you having boundaries are the ones who benefited from you having none. If they benefited from you not having boundaries, they are going to push back the most. People who are okay, like who respect you and respect your peace, if you put up a boundary, they're going to say, great, no problem.
Yeah,
I don't have an issue with that.
Because they're going to understand it's about you. It's not about them.
Right. Listen up, baddies. Our Patreon is growing like crazy. If you're loving the podcast, it's a phenomenal way to hear more exclusive content, including our monthly catch-ups, which are absolutely hilarious, uncut episodes, shorts, and coming very soon, interviews, and more content piggybacking off of our most loved episodes. We can assure you we are unfiltered and maybe even a little feral. So go to the Linktree on our Instagram page at Podcast She Did What to get straight to our Patreon and join today. Remember, if you join as an executive baddie, you'll get an episode shout out as well. We can't wait for you baddies to see this extra content.
Executive baddie shout out to one of my personal best friends, Mary. Thank you for joining us, Mary. I know you know what all of these stories are about, and most of them are about us together. Thank you.
Also, diving into this a touch deeper, when I have set a boundary, because I have done this many times, here's how it looks very specifically. And I went to therapy for this, so you're welcome. Here's a freebie. This one's on the house.
Cost Katie a little bit.
Cost me a lot. I'm going to give it to you for free.
I can't wait.
Approach it first with, I love you. You are important to me. Our relationship is important to me. Maintaining a healthy relationship is important to me. In order for that to happen, I would like to see things change in this way, or I would appreciate it if at my house, or I would appreciate it if when we're having conversations, we did not bring politics into it because I don't think it benefits our relationship and I want to have a good one with you.
Very good, Katie.
And then end it with, people, I think they fuck up because they don't start with love.
Yes.
Because this is all love, right?
But
like
I mean,
if you're
wound up.
working to have a relationship with someone, you love them. You care about them.
I understand how people can do it, try to enforce their boundaries, not coming from love, because you're worked up.
And it won't, if you come from that, you're immediately, because you're doing it with someone who's already probably abusing a boundary of yours or not respecting you. If you come at it with, you're a jerk and da-da-da-da-da, and it's, you might as well go, it's gone like a fart in the wind. Just,
Mom of three boys right here.
You're done before you've even begun.
Yeah.
But if you start, guess how people will lean in quite literally and hear you when you say, I love you. I want a good relationship with you and a healthy one. And for me, and I statements, instead of you do this, I would really love to see us evolve in this way. Or I would really love it if when, you came to my home, I'm just going to use politics because it's easy and it's a political year and a lot of people are jazzed up. If you came into my home, if we just tabled the politics talk, especially in front of the children or what, and this is a really healthy way for these conversations to go. Also, look people in the eye, like don't text them, don't email them like, hey, because compassion exists in our body language.
So much is misunderstood between the lines and the spaces in a text and an email.
That's right.
Because it's coming out of your head in a completely different way than it was sent from someone else's.
Tone is lost.
I mean, it really, really is.
We have really lost touch with the art of looking someone in the eye and communicating.
And I hate a phone call, but I do have to give it that.
Or a FaceTime, a phone call, however you can get in front of someone without it being just written out digitally.
I do think that's important.
I even think if you write a letter, it's better than
I've not gotten
emailing.
A boundary letter yet. Have you?
No, but it might be fun.
It's a nice idea, Katie.
So I think it's important, though, to really dive in and discuss, because you and I are women who have set boundaries, and I think we probably know a lot of people, young, old, or otherwise, who are.
Yeah. And it took me a while to learn this, but as I was learning to put boundaries into place, I also started learning resentment is a huge part of why I need boundaries, because I will start resenting all these things that are driving me crazy. The people, the things, the places, I will resent all of it.
Right.
And that is not healthy. So boundaries to me are a sign of wanting to not get to a point of resentment. So a lot of that is asking yourself a question beforehand, like, this is getting on my nerves a little bit. Am I going to resent this if I don't say something?
Right.
For me, that's usually yes. So I think knowing, your own personality and your own trends and how you deal with things is very important also in your boundary setting. Like, I need boundaries.
Yeah. Yeah.
Period. End of story.
And again, what are some indicators? Resentment, frustration, anxiety ahead of it.
Like just pure chaos. Like someone, and some of the stuff I was reading, prepping for this episode, said, is chaos in your life the absence of boundaries? And for me, that's a yes.
I liked this Cheryl Strayed. She was the author of, what's the movie that Reese Witherspoon did? She hikes the
Wild.
Yeah. She said in an article that we can link in show notes, fucked up people will try to tell you otherwise, but boundaries have nothing to do with whether you love someone or not. They are not judgments, punishments, or betrayals. They are a purely peaceable thing. The basic principles you identify for yourself that define the behaviors that you will tolerate from others, as well as the responses you will have to those behaviors. Boundaries teach people how to treat you, and they teach you how to respect yourself.
I love that. It's
I
all about the
know.
peace to me, like
It's
maintaining
peace.
your peace.
When you're young, you almost, you're in college or high school and it's drama and it's this and you kind of like, and you kind of like thrive off of it or find.
Yeah, it doesn't bother you.
It doesn't bother you. And then when you get to be a certain age
and someone's chewing loudly,
you
need a boundary.
You want nothing to do with it.
I would appreciate it if you would eat in another room.
Mm-hmm. My friend Dina, she says she cannot go to a restaurant without a gentleman loudly blowing his nose near her. She's like, I can't do it. I don't know what I'm doing I don't know what my energy is bringing, but the nose blowing.
This is so off topic, but for me, when the older gentlemen like
Clear the sinuses.
stuff, and I'm like, other people are here. Go in the bathroom.
I feel like it should be totally acceptable boundary wise to say, sir, I'm uncomfortable with that noise. Can you please step out?
Like, it makes me want to throw up a little bit.
Oh,
it's so gross.
I'm so sensitive when I eat. Immediate vomit.
Or they're like standing right behind you in line at the post office. And
I'm
you're like,
actually,
did that get on me?
My stomach is actually turning
We're
right
so
now.
off topic.
But anyway.
No, but to Cheryl's quote, I love that. It's all about the peace. And something I read last night was an article called Why It's Civil to Tell Others No. And she's talking about the civility of it. And civil means to be polite and courteous and to kind of follow these societal manners that we should have. A lot of us don't, but and those things are in place to keep the peace and to be pleasant for everyone. And so saying no seems like it would be impolite at first, but because it requires you to respect yourself and respect for the other person, it's actually a very civil thing. Like, we're trying to be respectful of all parties involved and keep that peace. And I thought that was a very interesting way of saying it, is that it's civil and polite and for the greater good.
Also, I do not want you to say yes
if it's
uncomfortable. If you don't want to be there.
Yeah.
Like, if you ever had someone say yes and arrive to something and you can tell they don't want to be there, don't fucking come.
Was it me?
You pretty much every time we record.
I told
I'm
you
gonna set a
the other
boundary.
day,
Can you come
you
in a
were
good
having a fabulous event and I couldn't come, and I was just like, no.
Wait, when was this?
Your VIP not long ago.
Oh, I don't even remember.
It was a double sports night.
Yeah, no. Great. Don't show up.
She tried to guilt me one time.
Yeah, I probably did.
And I just said, I can't.
I wasn't guilting you. I have a weird sense. No, I have a weird sense of humor, and I like when I could tell someone is uncomfortable. You were not comfortable, but like,
I was
no,
not.
you were not uncomfortable. But I can tell sometimes, like, I don't know. I just can push the envelope a little bit.
Ask me again, Katie.
I'm a contrarian, but I honest to God, don't want anyone showing up for anything if they are going to be in a bad mood or unhappy or not want to be there. Like, don't come. That's fine.
And
that's fine. It's fine.
That's something I've been learning about myself. And that's where my family and I sometimes don't see eye to eye. They'll ask me if I want to go do something, and I'll know I am not like any event over like 2 hours. Like, if they're asking me to go do something all day, I'm like, I'm not going to be able to handle it. It's
like what? What goes on all day?
Like sometimes we go with our friends, but there are a lot of other people there that I don't know. And it's just too many people. I don't
what do you
like
mean? Like a cookout or like
kind of like a family hangout get together, like maybe at the lake.
Okay.
Like at someone's lake house.
Oh, okay. Okay.
So we're out all day in the sun. So I'm going to get a migraine from the heat. there are going to be 8 gazillion people there.
Mm-hmm.
Not enough seats, not enough food, nowhere to go have a quiet moment, not a lot of one-on-one conversation. Like, I know these are all things I can do for an hour, but for 6 or 8 hours, I'm out.
Sure. Yeah. JJ and I were talking about Griff's birthday. It's always such a busy time of year, and we really want him to feel special because he's a middle child.
Is he a December?
No, his birthday's it's a week from Saturday.
Oh, well, you just said busy time of year. So
Yeah. Oh, sorry. I thought I said that. Anyway, it's in a week and a half, and we want him to feel special, and we want him to feel seen. He is very much a true middle child, and he wants to be celebrated, and we want him to feel that.
He's so cute.
He's so cute. And so we have been trying to figure out how to juggle all the things. And my husband said, well, what if we do a big party? They don't have anything going on the following Saturday. And I looked, my best friend and my best friend's mom are flying in from Chicago and Boise, Idaho for a girls' weekend with my mom and I that we planned the week my father passed away. They said, we want to come, we want to see you. And so that's been on the calendar for a while. And I said, JJ, I said, I know it's about, but like Ann and Lindsay are going to be in town. We need time to hang out with them. And he was like, well, we'll just do a birthday at Funopolis and you just don't need to come.
But
and
would
I
Griff
said,
love it?
I'm not going to be not at my kid's party.
Oh, I would totally send them.
Okay.
Be like, have a great time.
I mean, I guess I could. That just seems.
Have you
I
been
don't,
to Funopolis?
No.
You might want to send them.
Okay. Well, anyway.
You have a special mommy party later.
Okay. Well, maybe we will. I don't know. I just felt like I really wanted to be at my kid's birthday.
Yeah.
So I was like, no, because we had an alternate kind of plan set up. And then, it's just one of those where we're indecisive on it. And he has been like, one minute he wants a Godzilla jump house party. The next minute he's great with a movie party. I mean, we just can't get him.
Yeah.
He's all over the map. Anyway, I'm saying all that to say, I was like, absolutely not.
Yeah. You said
That's not.
right,
And he was
you
like,
knew
no,
what
it's
you would
fine.
be
And I was like,
with.
no, I'm not. I will feel so upset if you have a birthday party for my child in Funopolis and I'm not there. And then I'm torn between having to make this decision of and I don't want to drag them to a Funopolis birthday party when they're here for 3 days. Anyway, dirty laundry.
No, you have to do what you're comfortable with. Just like you might love going to a lake party for 6-8 hours.
See, I would love that.
It's not.
That sounds so fun. I mean, maybe not with your family, but I'm just kidding.
And that's what I'm like. If I know I'm not going to like it, I
love
you
your
all
family.
are blessed.
In fact,
to
actually,
go without
I would love
me.
to go with your family. I like your
You're
family.
like, will you take me? But I just
Is this with your sister-in-law and the
no,
girls?
No. This is just with some friends, and I love our
What
friends.
I can't. I'll go.
I love our friends. I just don't love
M&K?
No, other friends. We have other friends.
Oh, you do?
Yeah.
Okay, good. I'm like, I'll go. M&K, invite me.
What were we even talking about?
I don't
Katie?
know. Jesus.
Yeah. So the boundaries, they're for you.
Right. Let's get into difficult versus destructive.
Most boundaries are going to have some level of difficulty in making the decision or making someone work.
Right.
Something work, right?
Right.
I mean, if it was all peace and rainbows, we wouldn't need the boundary.
Sure.
But you don't have to go destructive with it. And you don't want anything to be destructive towards you. So an example to help you with this is remove the title.
Right.
So if this person was doing this and they weren't my husband, would that be acceptable?
Mm-hmm.
If this person was doing this and it wasn't, my sister, would that be acceptable? And so that way you can kind of look at the actual chaos that's going on and not assign like personal relational things to that to help you decide, like, is this just something I don't like that much about a person or situation, or is this really, really bothering me?
Yes, absolutely. And removing the title is, and sometimes removing maybe the history. Like, okay, would we be friends if we met today? just because we've been friends for 5 years or 10 years or 15 or 20 or 25, whatever.
Yeah.
Would we be friends today? Are we just hanging on by a thread because we feel some sort of,
Because
or is
we've
there something,
been friends.
or is there something really there?
Yeah.
So
that's
these
a
are
good
all
example.
important questions to ask, and even, you know, moving into the boundary
Yeah.
and knowing that there might be a period of a season of winter, of hibernation, of quiet, where maybe the boundary pushes someone away.
Yeah. So one of the articles I read, I think this was actually in a book I read on boundaries, was talking about having even like a funeral for the death of a relationship. Because sometimes you need to grieve. Like if someone's been in your life for a long time and the chaos was too
Right.
much and we had to make a change, you're still going to miss the good times and you're
Right.
going to reminisce and you're going to think about all the good times. So you definitely should allow yourself some grace there and allow yourself to miss all your wonderful memories with them, and
Yeah,
and
and-
know that the change has been made.
Sure.
You can still love.
Right. And that
Some
can be
good
true
parts.
for a relationship too.
Yeah.
A romantic relationship. You know, I
Yes.
remember I had a long-term college boyfriend, and when we broke up, we kind of like still got back together. You know, it was like one of those like break up, kind of get back together, not really. And it's like, you kind of only want to remember when a relationship ends the good times.
Yeah.
But
well,
the bad times are what led to its demise. So, like, yes, mourn those good times, mourn the fun you had, but also remember that there's a reason the relationship came to an end.
yeah.
And you don't need to repeat it over and over, rinse, wash, repeat to find out that it's dirty, you know?
Yeah. And even like speaking of a relationship and a breakup like that, I can think of like a high school couple breaking up because they're going kind of separate ways.
Sure.
For college. So that boundary, like if you're not going to be able to make it work. So it's the end, even if nothing necessarily went wrong. That's just
Right.
kind of your natural trajectory and you're not
Sure.
moving forward together. But you would still grieve that. And you would still, love your happy memories, but it's just not going to work moving forward. So
Right.
that happens. That's life.
Right. Yeah. And that's for any kind of relationship, whether it's, I like I've talked about my brother on here, like we're definitely in a not good winter place. And I feel hopeful that we will have a summer again, literally and figuratively, like in our relationship, and like that we can see each other. That was like always our fun time, but in the summertime. But right now, I think I know for myself, and I won't speak for him, I need that boundary for my peace.
Yeah.
It's really
all
important.
about the peace.
And I need it for right now. And, but I think I remain hopeful for any relationship that's in a winter that I feel like has potential to, if you remove the title, do I love this person or whatever. And I've had a family member, when my dad passed, it's like, you don't want to repeat these things. You don't want to have difficult relationships with people in the end or close to the end. That's very hard. And coming from being on the other side of it, you're going to wade through a lot of shit and you're going to have a lot to reconcile. And so, I would say that's the other side of boundaries. We need to create them. They're wildly important. And I refuse to let my boundaries go for the sake of, but also keep in mind, that life is fleeting and it is short. And if, know that the boundary you're creating is for peace and not just to make a point or to be reactive, that this is truly something that's been well thought out and maybe discussed with people that you trust to advise you, and then move forward with it in a place of love.
Yes.
And talking through that, maybe I haven't done that. Maybe I haven't, maybe I haven't done that work. Maybe it's something to think about.
Love and peace is what you need for a boundary.
Yeah.
Well, I hope you guys can decline things that do not serve you for your secret reasons, and that you chuckle when you tell someone you have to decline for secret reasons. I cannot wait to use this.
I'm going to email Brandy today and she's going to be like, Katie, I decline for... I'm like,
I
can
know,
you
please-
collaborate on this Instagram post? I decline for secret reasons.
Please invite me to something today, someone. So I
Invite her to a very long weekend
a long,
event.
hot. It has to be hot because I
Hot.
don't do the heat. I'll get
Okay.
a migraine. So it has to be hot.
A long, hot weekend event.
With lots of people, so I can't have an intimate conversation.
Right. You're big on
Yes,
that.
yes.
Yeah. Okay. All right. Boundary set, y'all. Can I leave with this one thing? Because I like it a lot.
Leave it. Leave it.
Your boundaries are a gift. They give people the opportunity to feel uncomfortable feelings and survive them.
Oh, very nice.
Did you put that in there or did I?
No, you did. That is nice. And again, it comes back to the peace and love.
Always.
Can be uncomfortable, but we can do uncomfortable if it's coming with peace and love and respect.
Absolutely. I think that's the cornerstone here.
My trainer says this all the time. We can do hard things.
I saw that in Home Goods yesterday painted on a
She's so
wooden
cute.
sign. No,
It's like
that's
the
adorable.
hardest thing on the reformer. And she's like, you can do hard things.
Honestly, I say that to
I
myself
can't.
when I'm
I
working
can't.
out.
I can do it.
You could do anything for 5 minutes.
Yes, or 5 seconds in my case.
We're not talking about your sex life, Brandy.
All right. Peace and love.
Peace and love. Peace
Everywhere.
out.
Bye.
Thanks for hanging out with us today. We hope you enjoyed our conversation and can't wait to share another episode with you next Thursday.
Make sure to subscribe so you never miss an episode. To keep up with the latest, make sure to follow us on Instagram at podcast She Did What. We'll be sharing updates, behind the scenes, and announcements you won't want to miss.
And if there's anything you'd like to share with us, whether it be a personal story or feedback on our episodes, you can leave us a voicemail at 762-499-2201 or head over to our website, shedidwhatpodcast.com. Also, feel free to leave us a review down below. We'd love to know what you think.
She Did What is hosted by us, Brandy Chandler and Katie Jacobs, and produced by Studio D Podcast Production.
Thanks for joining us today. We'll see you next Thursday. And remember, it isn't always easy, but it sure as hell can be entertaining.